Hello everyone. Today I'm going to discuss with you the butters and dough. But before that, I would like to read the content first. Objectives: differentiate butter and dough. Classify kinds of butter and dough. Identify methods of mixing dough. Describe a well-made crust. Define and describe quick breads. Identify kinds and methods of mixing quick bread. Define and describe kinds of yeast breads. Follow principles in making yeast breads. Describe and differentiate kinds of pastry. Define and classify kinds of cakes. Name kinds of cookies. Describe kinds of frosting and identify tools in making and applying frosting to cake. So, butter and dough are two commonly used words in kitchens and restaurants. They are two stages in baking process and are used for making various recipes. Dough is a comparatively solid mixture than butter, which is more liquid in nature. Butter has so many things in common with dough that many mistakes it as dough. Butter can be made with a blender. Butter is made with water, flour, egg, and milk, a perfect combination for making cakes. Butter is also used as a coating for fried foods, and a number of recipes such as cookies and omelets can be made with it. So, yung iba po is mas gusto nilang gamitin yung butter. Kasi po, una po is mas malinamnam, mas malasa, at may magandang epekto sa ating kalusugan. So, dough is made by mixing water and flour and kneading it into the shape of round balls or into any other shape of the maker's choice. The whole process is done with hands. In making dough, flour made from rice, rye, almonds, and other cereal crops is also used. The type of product, cooking and baking techniques, nature of the products also determines the form of dough, particularly its viscosity and elasticity. So, we have the difference of butter and dough. In cooking terms, the word butter has two definitions: a mixture of flour, egg, and mix of water that is thin enough to be poured or dropped from a spoon. This includes cake and or waffle butter as well as the majority of cookie butters. A coating, often of flour and dough, sometimes with bread, which is applied to food that is meant to be fried. For instance, deep fried fish is often buttered. In word, dough has a different meaning. A mixture of mostly flour or milk and often milk and water that is stiff enough to be kneaded or rolled. This covers many baked breads, rolls, and some rolled cookies. With these two definitions, we can clearly see that the difference between butter and dough is that butter is thin while dough is quite thick. This plays into the techniques used to mix each type of baking mixture. So we have the definition and characteristics of butter and dough. So una muna sa dough. Main ingredients is flour. Dough mixed with liquid. It keeps its shapes as a mass. Can be kneaded, best mixed by hand with a wooden spoon or with a dough hook. Can be shaped by hand. Does not necessarily need a pan to keep its shape. Examples: short crust for easy, sweet or savory youngless. Yeast dough for cinnamon buns. Chalks pastry for eclairs. Cookie dough for cookies. So, sa butter, mix of flour, egg, and water, milk, thin enough to be dropped from a spoon. It is also named of a coating for fried foods. Can usually be mixed with electric hand or stand mixer. Needs to be shaped by baking form. And examples: pancake or crepe butter, sponge cake for Swiss rolls, butter for frying fish, tempura or pakora, etc. Mixing butter and dough. The consistency of butter butter is why you can the majority of time beat it with electric mixer. This makes quite for worth of the process because the liquid to solid ratio is balanced to create a lighter mix that almost any mixer can handle. So how to shape butter and dough? Cake and muffin are too much thinner and rely on the form of the baking pan to create the shape. Drop cookies are in between the dough and butter. They are thicker than cake batters and will spread out the flatten during the baking process. There's no designated shape or form other than a ball of butter. In contrast, doughs often shaped by hand because it's extremely stiff. This gives a baker greater freedom to choose the shape of their bread. You might use a loaf pan to create traditional bread loaf. You can freeform to loaf into a round or allow a rectangle loaf to spread freely on a baking sheet. This gives the bread or more artisanal bakery look. You can also braid bread dough or cut it into breadsticks. Rolled cookie dough and biscuits are often cut into shapes. Many sweet bread rolls are shaped by hand but use the sides of a pan for containment. Types of butters. Pure butters are fluid and pure, contain about 2 to 3 to 1 cup water for every cup flour. Pancakes and waffles, a specialized kind of pancake, as crepes are one of humankind's oldest form of bread. Bubble and closely related but in a slight different branch of the pancake family. Next is the drop butters. Do not contain as much water as pour butters. Contain about 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 cup water for every cup flour. Examples are coffee, cakes, donuts, dumplings, loaves, or tea breads, muffins. So we have main categories of dough. Leavened dough is fermented for a period of time until it achieves its final form. The rising is done through leaveners like yeast, baking soda, and baking powder. The fermented dough can be created by two methods: sponge dough methods and the straight dough methods. Sponge dough method involves creating a mixture of flour, water, and yeast, which is left to rise until it is least dough balls in size. Straight double method. In the straight dough method, all these ingredients are combined in a jingle section and then kneaded to a smooth and elastic consistency. Unleavened dough. The unleavened dough does not require any leavening agent and is used for a baked goodies that do not need to rise but instead stay dead and these kinds of dough usually have higher percentage of fat which prevents them from hardening. So we have types of pastry dough. Is laminated pastry dough. Laminated dough involves folding and refolding pieces of pastry, slathered with butter, many times until many layers are created. Gluten is also developed during the folding process. Next is the non-laminated pastry dough. Includes rubbing in butter into the flour without folding it. Unleavened non-laminated pastries include chalks, pastries, eclairs, and pie dough. Leavened non-laminated pastries include the broth.